All right, everyone, good evening. Thanks for watching Fox News Now. In just a moment, they're going to be taking us out to Houston, Texas for a child in a hot car death news conference. Let's listen in.
Driver and the chaperone apparently didn't go into the bus and check the bus prior to leaving. The father arrived at the daycare to pick up his child, and the daycare started looking around for the child and went outside to the bus, and they discovered that the child was actually in the bus and was non-responsive. Of course, EMS was called to the scene, and they worked on the child for a while, transported the child to Methodist Willowbrook, where the child was pronounced dead.
Oh, wow.
This is an absolute tragedy. I can't fathom being a father and losing my child this way. And so our prayers, our thoughts are with this family. And this is a law enforcement, this is their worst nightmares, to find a child in a situation like this. We are investigating it along with Houston PD. The case is going to be referred to Houston Special Crimes Unit for Children. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
The chaperone and the driver were in the bus. Those are the only two workers?
Yes, and we have them detained at the moment for questioning, so we can determine how and this all took place.
Do you know what the age range was of those kids who were on the field?
There were a lot of different age ranges, but there were 28 kids that went on this field trip. It's a boy. Yeah. Yeah.
3 years old?
3 years old, yes, sir. Yes.
What happens now with that bus driver and the chaperone?
Well, they're obviously going to be questioned. We have to fully investigate this. Law enforcement has to fully investigate this, and potential charges may be brought against them. Again, I mentioned it was a short school bus. It seems to me it would have been pretty easy to go down the aisle and make sure that there's no child left on the bus and or property left on the bus. But it just seems to me this was just gross negligence, and as a result, a child lost its life today, and it's just tragic, and I'm saddened by it, as every officer out here on this scene is saddened by it.
And those vans, can a 3-year-old open up the door by himself?
No, I don't think so. I think you have to know how to operate the door, to open the door, and so the van's going to be processed to see if the child actually was trying to open the door, by pushing on it. I can't fathom what this poor child was going through. I don't want to fathom. But the child apparently woke up, and then, of course, a father arriving here to pick up his beloved child, only to find out they're looking around for him. I just can't imagine.
Do you know where he was on the van?
I don't know where the child was. I know that when EMS arrived, they started working on the child outside of the van.
Because what do you know? He was in a car seat of any kind, in a seatbelt?
He should have been at 3 years old, so that makes it even more perplexing, is because you would think that the 3-year-old's going to be in a car seat and they would physically have to take the child out of a car seat. So it's very early to see if they violated, some type of transportation law, but we're really not worried about a violation of that. We're more worried at investigating this.
Trying to understand, the car seat physically couldn't get to the door, but also not going too far into your investigation. Has the daycare, has the driver offered up any explanation?
No, I think we're waiting to question them in the appropriate environment, and so I'm sure that they will. What else can you say other than I was neglectful and left a child on a bus? I just don't see what else you could possibly say. But we will certainly endeavor to get all the answers. This family deserves that, and it's just tragic. I mean, this is just tragic. Anytime, as a parent, I can tell you, I would be just devastated.
Constable, did the bus was completely closed, all the windows and doors?
Yes, sir. As far as I can tell, the bus was parked, in the back. The temperature inside, at least when we first got here, they measured it with temperature guns, was about 113 degrees.
That was obviously after they had already opened the door.
It may have been hotter, but that's the first reading we got.
So just trying to clarify, you said the baby was asleep, the child was asleep.
We're not certain it's asleep, but we have to infer certain things that if a baby was awake, obviously the baby, when people were getting off the bus, they would hear a child in the back of the bus.
Was it a crowded bus? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes. They had multiple kids that went on a field trip today at 11:30. They went to Doss Park at about 11 a.m. today and went on a field trip and returned at approximately 2:30, 3 o'clock, somewhere in that time frame.
And it's customary for the kids to get off the bus by themselves.
I don't know what's customary for this daycare. I can only imagine what somebody that is doing proper diligence to make sure that every child gets off, and that you would go back, seeing you had two people, you had a bus driver and you had a chaperone, would get back on a bus and go and look to make sure that A, nobody was left behind, and B, there was no property, a school bag, a lunch bag, or anything like that was left on a bus. It's not a long, traditional yellow school bus. It's a very short bus that daycare centers use traditionally.
Do we know what the other adults chaperoning, or is it just these two?
Just those two. Yes, sir.
Employees from daycare.
Yes, sir.
Do we know what these kids were doing after
someone being detained right now?
Two people are detained at the moment for questioning.
And can you tell us, were they bus driver or mom?
Bus driver and a chaperone. Yes, sir.
Around what time did the father come to pick up his child?
We estimate about 6:30, approximately.
Do we know what these kids were doing after they got off the bus, whenever they were back inside?
They're obviously staging inside and doing what happens at a daycare center, probably playing and doing different things, waiting on their parents to pick them up. Usually parents come to pick up after work. Yeah.
We're about to get into a really hot couple of days. Can you just talk about how obviously dangerous that is?
In law enforcement, we try to message this. The fire department messages this. During the summer, it can get excruciatingly hot in vehicles very rapidly. And so we implore people to obviously throw something in the back that's meaningful to you, your wallet, something if you have a child in the back, so you remember to get that child out of the back. People that are around parking lots and you're walking around your neighborhood, check inside a car. You don't have to go up to the car, but just kind of glance in and see if anything's left behind. This is a completely avoidable thing. And I know how rushed our lives are at the moment and all the things that we have going on, but when you're talking about a child and a child's life, there's no price tag. There's no, you have to be due diligent. You have to pay proper diligence to kids. And so force something. Put your purse in the back when you know your child's in the back seat of a car. Get out every time and make it a habit of checking your car. These are avoidable things, but I can tell you law enforcement gets these types of calls frequently where we have a trapped child in a car and we have to get there, priority one, which is lights and sirens, get there as quickly as possible so that we can intervene to ensure that no one's hurt. And you can die in a car very quickly by sitting in a locked hot car in Houston's heat. And so this is a time for us to reflect on that and remind ourselves, do something to remind yourself that you have that child in the back of your car. Whatever that is, whatever's the most meaningful, put your cell phone back there. Do something that always reminds you when you get out of that car that you have a loving package in the back seat of that car.
Constable, did you confirm the age?
3-year-old male. Mm-hmm.
Do you know if there are any cameras on board that might have been able to capture?
No, we're in the middle of that. We're in the middle of that. We're looking at cameras surrounding the building that may have been on the bus as well. So it's a fluid situation. We'll get to the facts. We owe it to that family. We will get the facts, and all I can do is again say to everybody, pray for this child's family.
Have you talked to the dad?
I'm going to the hospital. As I leave here, I'm going to the hospital tonight to see if there's anything we can do to ease their pain, which I know that there's nothing that's going to ease their pain, but we're going to go by there and see the family and give them a hug and tell them our prayers are with them. And so that's what I'm asking Houston. I mean, kids aren't supposed to pass before their parents. And I know as a father, I could never, ever fathom this. And so I am so sorry to the family. And let's all pray for them.
Just to clarify, you believe he was on the bus for 3.5 hours?
Yes, sir.
If charges are filed, would it be negligence?
It could be negligent homicide. It could be there's a multitude of charges. I don't want to speculate as to what we would charge them with. That's of course the DA's office that's responsible for that. But let's think about this kid now, folks. And I thank you all. And again, pray for this family. Thank you.
From the name of the park again,
They went to Doss Park. Yes, sir. DOSS Park.
And the daycare, are they cooperating with investigators? We noticed
Everybody's cooperating thus far, and I don't suspect them not to cooperate. I'm sure they're saddened by this as well. Yeah. Thank you.